Now, even though the JBL Flip 6 isn't a huge upgrade from the JBL Flip 5, the additional tweeter on the Flip 6 does help it sound much more open. And in general, tweeters on 20-watt Bluetooth speakers are pretty rare. But today we're going to compare the JBL Flip 6 to two very popular 20-watt speakers. First, there's the Bose Soundlink Flex, which is just universally loved, and I completely understand why. And then there's the Sony XB23, which is a solid budget option. But nonetheless, let's see which one's right for you.
Now, regarding pricing, we've got a bit of a spectrum here. The Flex is the most premium speaker here, retailing for $150. The JBL Flip 6 has a retail price of $130, and the Sony XB23 has a retail price of $100. Now, even though I do expect these speakers to go on sale on a regular basis, I think it's safe to assume that Sony will always manage to undercut these other two speakers. Nonetheless, if you want to pick any of these speakers up, they'll be linked down below. And if you want to further support the channel, check out the merch shelf down below. I've made some shirts and hoodies that look and feel great. And if you've been watching me for a while, you know I can be very particular. So I'll only set my name on something that I'm really proud of. Now first, let's talk about the design of these speakers. Both the Sony and JBL have cylindrical bodies, meaning that you can very easily place them in your bike's water bottle holder, which I know a lot of cyclists like to do. Whereas with Bose's rectangular body, it's not as easy. But besides that, all of these speakers are fairly easy to take on the go with you. However, Sony's speaker is pretty long. However, Sony's speaker has the best loop here, so you can more easily attach it or hang it from things. Whereas JBL's loop isn't as versatile by comparison, and then there's Bose's loop, which is super limited. You're gonna need to use a carabiner with this thing, and it's not included. But overall, from a body perspective, the Flip 6 is the most portable Bluetooth speaker here, because it's the smallest and it has a cylindrical body. However, from a durability standpoint, all of these speakers are waterproof, so you don't have to worry about any of them getting wet, and they all have no problem standing up to constant abuse from bumps and scrapes. However, both the Flip 6 and XB23 have mostly fabric wrapped bodies, which are pretty standard for speakers like these, whereas the Bose Flex has a powder coat steel faceplate and silicone wrapped body, which not only makes the speaker feel just as durable as these other two speakers, it also makes it feel more premium. So overall, I feel that if you're looking for something with maximum portability, I think the Flip 6 is your best bet. But if you want something nice, then you might want to go with the Flex.
But now let's talk about tech specs. Regarding battery life, both the Bose Flex and JBL Flip 6 have an advertised battery life of 12 hours, and real-world use with both of these speakers playing at 80% volume, which is a really good listening volume on both of these speakers. Both of these speakers are good for about 8 hours of playback time, not bad at all. But just given the Flex's sheer size and shape, I really wish Bose would have crammed in a larger battery into this guy. So personally, I do think the Flip 6's battery life is more impressive because it's more compact and it has that additional tweeter to power. But then there's the Sony XB23, which has an advertised battery life of 10 hours with this extra bass mode turned on, which is how you should use this speaker. And real-world use with the speaker playing at 80% volume, which is noticeably quieter than 80% volume on these other two speakers, the XB23 is only good for about 6 hours of playback time. Now, when it comes to charging these speakers, all of these speakers charge via a USB-C port as they should. And unfortunately, this is the only port that you'll find on all of these speakers because none of these speakers have an audio jack. And unfortunately, this is the new norm. And personally, I do feel that all of these speakers should have an audio jack just in case, because unfortunately, you can only use these speakers wirelessly because the USB-C port on all of these speakers are strictly used for charging. But when it comes to Bluetooth connectivity, all of these speakers can be connected to two devices at the same time, which is great either if you're a power user and you want to quickly and easily hot swap from one device to another, or this way you and a friend can both be DJ. And when it comes to performance, all of these speakers have zero latency across the board when watching movies or videos on your phone, whether you're using an iPhone or an Android device.
But now let's talk about listening to music with these speakers. Regarding speaker setups, the XB23 has your traditional dual front-mount firing woofers and dual passive radiators that shoot out the sides. Pretty standard for a portable Bluetooth speaker, and the XB23 has an output of 20 watts. Then there's the Bose Flex, which has a single frontward-firing transducer and a pair of passive radiators that shoot out the front and back of the speaker. And again, the Bose Flex has an output of 20 watts. And finally, there's the JBL Flip 6, which has a single frontward-firing woofer, a single frontward-firing tweeter, and dual passive radiators that shoot out the sides. And when it comes to output, the woofer has an output of 20 watts and the tweeter has an output of 10 watts. Now, in general, the Flip 6's speaker setup is very impressive, and the idea of having a tweeter and a woofer is that it's going to help with instrument separation. But let me just show you.
A broken glass while I'm thinking in my head. I mind my own, I don't even break a sweat. Oh, this madness is insane. Why you still live in vain? I'm not the one, you're the victim of your own mistakes. It's trapped in the lights, under the street lights, under the street lights.
So, like you may have just seen, the woofers on both the XB23 and Bose Flex handle both the mids and highs, whereas with the Flip 6, the woofer handles the mids and the tweeter handles the highs. So this is going to help the speakers sound more open and have better instrument separation. But now we're going to jump into the sound test. All of these speakers are playing with their stock EQ, but the XB23 is working pretty hard here at 81% volume. The Bose Flex is stretching its legs, playing at 75% volume, and then there's the Flip 6, which is just coasting here, playing at 70% volume. So first, I'm gonna have to single out the XB23. Now compared to these other two speakers, the Sony XB23 sounds the most narrow and shallow, and since the speaker does shoot for a warmer sound signature, it just doesn't get as loud as these other two speakers. In general, the XB23 sounds fine, but these other two speakers do sound and perform better. Now, when it comes to comparing the JBL Flip 6 to the Bose Flex, I gotta say, the Flip 6 has the better instrument separation, whereas the Bose has the better bass. Other than that, these speakers are very evenly matched sound quality wise, and they both get equally as loud. However, the Flip 6 can at times get a little louder than the Flex, but that's mainly because the Flip 6 does put a slightly higher emphasis on the highs, because I think JBL wants to show off that tweeter. However, something the Flip 6 does have over the Flex is that it has an adjustable EQ, so you can directly customize its EQ to your liking. And personally, I like my Flip 6 with its bass raised one click and the treble lowered one click. Whereas with the Flex, you can't directly customize its EQ. Now you can always customize the EQ on the Sony XB23, but no matter how much you play around with this EQ, performance-wise, the Sony XB23 just isn't as good as these other two speakers. So overall, when it comes to sound, I really think the JBL Flip 6 and Bose Flex are evenly matched. But if you want more bass, then you might want to go with the Bose, and if you want better instrument separation, then you'll want to go with the JBL Flip 6.
But now let's talk about pairing these speakers up with other speakers. Now the Bose Soundlink Flex is the most limited speaker here. You can only wirelessly pair your Bose Soundlink Flex up to one other Bose Soundlink speaker. Now being able to wirelessly pair up your Flex to one other Bose Soundlink speaker could be enough for some people, but it is limited when compared to these other two speakers. However, if you're somebody that's heavily invested into Bose's ecosystem, either you've gotten one of their smart soundbars or smart home speakers, you could always pair your Bose Soundlink Flex up to, let's say, your smart soundbar 300 using Bose's SimpleSync. But Bose's SimpleSync is product agnostic, so you can pair any Bluetooth device to it really. But then there's the JBL Flip 6, which is using JBL's Party Boost, meaning that you can wirelessly pair your Flip 6 up to any other JBL Party Boost speaker, like either a JBL Boombox 2, an Extreme 3, a Charge 5, a JBL Flip 5, another JBL Flip 6, or to a JBL Pulse 4. And you can pair up to 100 speakers together. However, just keep in mind, you can only pair a JBL Party Boost speaker to another JBL Party Boost speaker. You cannot pair a JBL Party Boost speaker to any of JBL's older speakers using JBL Connect Plus. And also keep in mind, you cannot pair a JBL Party Boost speaker to any of JBL's larger Party Box speakers. However, with Sony's Party Connect, you can wirelessly pair your Sony XB23 to Sony's larger box speakers, like either an XP500 or XP700, or you could also pair your XB23 up to an XG500, XP43, XP33, or to another XB23. And again, you can pair up to 100 speakers together, which is obviously just a marketing ploy. But again, keep in mind, you can only pair a Sony Party Connect speaker to another Sony Party Connect speaker. You cannot pair a Sony Party Connect speaker to any of Sony's older wireless party chain speakers. Now, even though Sony's Party Connect does offer more flexibility than JBL's Party Boost, personally I still prefer JBL's Party Boost because it's easier to use and it's much more stable. With Sony's Party Connect, you're gonna have to deal with some hiccups here and there. So if you're thinking about picking one of these speakers up and you plan on growing your collection of speakers and constantly pairing them together, then I do feel that JBL is your best bet because Party Boost is just more stable and easier to use than Sony's Party Connect, and you're going to be able to pair a lot more speakers together than you can with Bose. But finally, here's the microphone test. Now, the JBL Flip 6 is the only speaker here that doesn't have a built-in microphone, and personally, I really don't care. Both the Sony and Bose sound really bad if you're trying to take phone calls with these speakers, and these speakers are like 4 feet away from me, more like 3.5, sitting on a table and facing right at me, and I still sound really bad. So I just wouldn't try to take phone calls with these speakers, period.
But with all that being said, both the JBL Flip 6 and Bose Flex have raised the bar as to what we should come to expect from a 20-watt speaker, sound quality-wise. Both of these speakers truly sound great, and choosing between these two speakers is a real toss-up. Personally, I feel that if you want more bass, you can go with the Bose Flex, and if you want better instrument separation, you can go with the JBL Flip 6. But overall, I do think the JBL Flip 6 is the better pickup here, because it is a little more affordable, it's a little more more portable, it's a little more customizable, and if you want to build out your speaker collection, JBL has a healthy lineup to choose from. And finally, there's the Sony XB23. The speaker gets the job done, but you are going to get significant improvements if you decide to go with either of these other two speakers. If you made it this far, I guess you enjoyed the video, so hit the like button and get subscribed. If you want to pick any of the products up, they'll be linked down below. And if you want to further support the channel, check out the merch. I made some shirts and hoodies that look and feel great. And you know, I can be very particular, so I'll only slap my name on something that I'm really proud of.